What changes could you guys see happening in the future seasons of House of the Dragon? Things that they might change from Fire and Blood.
Well, first,
I-
every single actor is being replaced by Henry Cavill.
Not this again. Not this again.
What I hope, I hope they make Adam stick around longer. I'm not really satisfied with Adam's ending. I think he's a cool cat. At least make that battle have a little more meaning. I don't know.
I think
Daeron's
Cavill
death
will
as
do.
well. Daeron's death as well needs to change.
Right.
Oh my
100%.
Yeah.
I'm not taking there are two possible stuff. I'm not taking either of them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ryan Condal, you are dead to me. I'm sorry, it's on site, bro. It's on site.
What do you
not going out
mean,
like that.
bro? Is camping and just like this
What do you
tent
mean?
kills
The
him.
tent
Yeah,
fell
but
on
think
it.
of the
No.
memes though. Like, it must be worth it for that.
Oh, true.
Now that I think about it, that's true.
I mean, to do both those things, they could just have Adam and Daeron actually get in a dragon fight and kill each other.
Yeah.
That way
Yeah.
both their deaths feel more satisfying. Because I don't think you want to change Loyal, because that's just such a heartbreaking moment, even in a fucking history book. So
But then again, if you think about them both killing each other, depending on where they go with Daemon and Aemond, they might want to keep that for, the big scene of House of the Dragon.
yeah,
Unless
Because that's probably
they're
gonna
gonna
happen in
pull
the same
like,
season too. So
unless they're gonna pull like, Daemon is like, like Jaime in season 7 when he climbs out of the water, like full fucking armor. Like just Bronn takes him out of the water.
oh my god.
Yeah,
Something I
they'll-
thought about today actually, was I don't know if this is just me thinking this, but me personally, I've always believed that Caraxes didn't actually survive and that his body just washed up on shore, and people assumed that he crawled up to shore. That's just my thing. If Vhagar didn't survive that, there's no way Caraxes would survive having his belly torn open and
There-
the impact and stuff.
There's
I just
both. The size difference is gigantic, so that is something that might need a little bit of change as well. Because
Yeah.
how am I supposed to believe that
yeah.
Vhagar didn't just annihilate that dragon that we see in the show? I
Yeah.
mean, it has a big ass neck, and I don't know,
Mm.
maybe it's like encircled. It's like neck is around
Yeah.
I think-
Vhagar. I don't know.
I think the reason that Caraxes is able to take Vhagar out though is because Vhagar's fighting to actually win the battle. Caraxes is essentially just trying to kill Vhagar, whether or not it dies.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And I think that sort of gives it a bit of an edge and just
Yeah.
like not caring about itself at all, just going on the offense. Because
Yeah, I
Daemon
would-
was not trying to survive that battle.
No. He knew he had to die. 100%.
He literally leapt off
100%.
a dragon. There's no fucking way you're coming back from that, man.
Yeah, no. He knew the second he. I think that's why he said, on that much we both agree. He knew when he struck those fucking blows into the tree that for those 14 days, like he was meditating. He knew he was gonna die. On that like thing, the thing is, Fire and Blood, the way it's written, we can't have an accurate account of how the battle went. It's literally just whatever. Me personally, I don't want to see Caraxes crawling out of the water. I think that's fucking dumb. I think it's stupid. There's a certain level of like a certain aspect of it. I don't know, maybe this is just like favoritism or whatever, but the whole point of that battle is that Daemon played it smart. That's why he won. He used Aemon's blind eye against him. He used the sun. He used speed. He used all that stuff. So I would like them to like really, really like make this like the greatest dragon battle of the whole show, because it has to be. It's the two coolest dragons. I don't care about your opinion. It's undoubted.
Yeah.
Like there needs to be like a lot of strategy involved. We need to see that Daemon has planned this shit, and Aemond is gonna lose because he thought it's gonna be free.
I kind of hope
that,
it's like a
I need that.
bottle episode, just kind of focusing on Daemon and Harrenhal planning it, and Daemon going with allies, just focusing on the two of them the whole time, building up to that battle. And I think also having Caraxes go out of the water for the pacing as well, if you've just watched that happen and then you have to watch Caraxes fall up, it's so much more impactful if they just fall and then that's just it. Like no music,
Exactly.
you're just watching their bodies or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, because like my thing has always been like we don't have as far as I can remember, it doesn't say that people saw Caraxes crawling out of the water, right? It just says that Caraxes survived the fall and crawled out. I can't remember, but either way, I don't want I don't want that. I think thematically it works better if both are just dead.
Yeah.
Because Caraxes taking down Vhagar already is big enough of a feat. You don't need to have Caraxes surviving it to prove that point, So, yeah.
Because I've always thought of that battle as like a microcosm of the dance as a whole, where both sides just completely wiped out. It was kind of pointless. There was no need for it. It's just House Targaryen killing itself.
Yeah.
And it's fucking cool, so.
Yeah,
it's fucking cool.
Targaryen's dying is always cool.
Damn straight.
Yeah. When Henry Cavill Robert Baratheon kills Henry Cavill Rhaegar.
Oh my god.
Yeah. No, I'm very, very interested. I know, Ricky, you don't love talking about dragons because it's not what you're here for.
Yeah.
But I really I don't know if this is just like the autism in me, but I've watched the dragon scenes over and over and over. I love seeing the way they move. I analyze their fucking wingspans, how the different flying styles, everything like that. It must be a little thing in my brain, but it makes me happy, okay? I can't wait to see more of that because I love the designs. I love the CGI for the most part was fucking phenomenal. I'm really, really excited for the battles because at the end of the day, like, there's so much work that has to go into that, and you have to appreciate the because it's not just like a dragon flying. When there's two dragons fighting each other, it's choreography, right? Like that shit is like
storyboarding, everything.
Literally, the amount of work that has to go into that is absurd. So
here's the thing about the dragons. Here's the thing. Like I always kept saying, like I don't care about the dragons, and that is true, but. I think House of the Dragon actually emphasizing on the connection between Dragon Rider and Dragon is very interesting, and it remains to be seen if it actually goes anywhere. I hope it does, because, obviously with the storming of the Dragon Pit later on and the Dragon Seeds plot, there's a lot of room to really make that complex and interesting. I'm interested to see that. Like, there's this, it's not like, I hate dragons and I don't care. It's because there's also an attempt to make it more interesting. I'm just tired of watching CGI beasts fighting each other in general. I think that's just overdone in today's entertainment.
Yeah, no, I get you 100%. I still need you to watch Godzilla -1 though.
I knew that was coming. No.
Going back to the Daeron thing for a second, I know that was a while ago. But if they do want to use one of the book deaths, which is where he's just cut down by a random sellsword, I kind of hope they do a sort of parody of the Battle of the Bastards one take with Jon going through the battle, sort of killing everything, except halfway through he just dies.
Honestly, that would be like, I wouldn't mind that.
Like a sword from behind.
And get killed by a random soldier.
I would not mind that.
Better than that?
That's great.
That's very similar to All Quiet on the Western Front, the ending. That gives me the same vibe where it's sort of like you're sort of moving through this battle and everything's going fine, and then boom, it just happens that quickly because he's just the person at the end of the day. It's the
prospect of him, becoming the king. Like there's some meaning behind this, and he gets killed because he participates in the battle. That is something that's great. Have an episode end with them conspiring to make him king, and then the next episode, there's the outbreak of the battle, and he just gets killed by soldier number 17. That's fucking amazing. Yeah. That's good. That's good shit.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, you could still do that with a tent falling on him, but
yeah.
At the end of the day, like that same thing can apply with just like something collapsing on top of him, like that. But I think it's just less.
Here's another death that I desperately need to be changed. And we already talked about this. depending on how far House of the Dragon goes, I don't think it will come to that point. But if it is gonna make that point,
It's gonna
I
be
hope
Corlys.
they change Corlys dying from
Fucking do
literally
it. Fucking do it.
stumbling on the stones. I mean, you know, funny stepstones joke. Insert that right now. But like it's goofy as hell. I don't. Why? No, you're telling me that man that endured so much is just gonna stumble and you know, I mean, I guess it's realistic, but it's still, you know,
Yeah.
I could just read the newspaper if I want something like that.
But I think the point is that it works for a history book because it is that. But in a TV show, it just seems like they're just tacking on depressing thing after depressing thing with no real purpose in mind.
Yeah, and also it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, George is literally fucking racing through that when he writes it. You know, it's just he's cramming like 100 and whatever years into this book, and it's just normal that some things are not gonna pay off the way they would if he would actually write 17 chapters about Corlys before he actually gets to die in a satisfying way.
Me personally, I feel that everything leading up to the dance was great, but the actual dance, the plot points in the dance are fine, 100%. But I just think the entire way the dance was written is just very rushed. It happens in what, like 40 pages or something like that.
I think it's
Whereas
80, isn't it?
Okay, maybe 80, but I mean,
Not that that's much of an upgrade, to be fair. Yeah.
yeah, but like literally, like Jaehaerys's reign is like 240 pages. You know?
And I'm glad that it's that long because that was
it's really
satisfying.
good.
Like
It's really good. Yeah.
all
yeah.
of his what was it? Conquests? Not conquests. How do you say?
No, that is that's the right
his-
word, I would say. Yeah.
His when he was roaming through the Seven Kingdoms. That was very entertaining to read, and also all of the attempts at making a better life in Westeros with Alicent. That is very wholesome.
Yeah.
And obviously the stuff that happens at the north, you know, when the dragon freaks out because Alicent can't go over and stuff like that.
Going to do that with Jace trying to take his dragon over the wall because we know Night's watching their car in it.
Yeah, there's a scene on the wall, so that's possible. I think they could maybe do something like that.
So let's talk about that change. They are going to cram the White Walkers into it.
Can I just before we go? Otherwise, I'm going to forget. And you know, you can repeat that part because obviously I interrupted. Before I forget.
Don't worry.
I don't think the show is going to get this far, but if it does, and Ricky, we've spoken about this, Jaehaera dying.
Oh my god, yeah.
Is just
Sign me up.
I'm sorry. It's just bad writing.
Yeah.
It's just bad. Jaehaera killing herself is just bad writing. It's unsatisfying.
Oh, allegedly.
Well, yeah, allegedly.
I think it probably was on Wind Peak.
Yeah,
he could have been involved, but you know.
Regardless, Jaehaera dying period is to me just unsatisfying, not well written, and I just feel like it's a shock factor. It really does just feel like George was just trying to like do something.
But then again, if you you know, do it in a way where Unwin is actually, you know, responsible for it and then gets away with it, you know, that's also cool. But you know, the show will never make it that far.
Yeah, no, I don't think the show will make it that far. Me personally, I don't think any Death in a Song of Ice and Fire has ever pissed me off as that one. Because like, I feel like I think this is gonna make sense to you guys. I feel like sometimes George can try too hard to subvert fantasy tropes, you know, and I think that's exactly what that was. Is you have this relatively happy ending, right? And it's not a happy ending because everyone dies anyways, but at least Jaehaera and Aegon the Third are together, and there's some sort of glimpse of hope there. There's at least something, even though the kingdom is in ruin, everyone you just read about is dead. There's at least something there, and then you know.
Yeah,
So,
I really like it for mirroring the initial idea that Helena and Jace will get proposed, because it's the idea that after all this, we essentially got the same thing a generation later. It was all basically pointless.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I'm also going to go back before I forget something. On the Corlys thing, if they're doing a whole spin-off about him as well, I think that makes him just doing a Stepstones, as you said, even more unappealing.
Yeah. But about that White Walker thing in season 2, that obviously is a huge change, and I am very interested to see how they go for it and how it benefits the story from their perspective, because it's a big deal. It's that is the Song of Ice and Fire, not the Dance of the Dragons, and maybe they could do it in a way where there actually was some motivation by the others. Something that obviously doesn't help with the ending of Game of Thrones, but something that actually gets us talking about the Winds of Winter again. In my mind, they just shouldn't act like they should act like Game of Thrones didn't the ending of Game of Thrones didn't exist.
Yeah.
I've gotten pretty good at doing that since release, so Ryan Condor can as well.
Yeah. I get what you mean, though. I get what you mean. Like trying to, rather than appeal to. Oh, why is my thing connected?
Josh's phone died. His camera died because he's recording with his phone. But that doesn't matter, because obviously there's only one guy who could save the podcast. And I mean, who better? Give it up for Henry Cavill, everyone.
That's how I look, by the way. I'm actually a faceless man, and I've been concealing my identity this whole. This is me. This is actually how I look.
It is.
That also needs to be put over my face to represent how Henry Cavill will be cast as every single character.
Oh, we can definitely do that. So, we are joined by Henry Cavill and Henry Cavill, and oh wait, there's this. I'm hearing there's another one. That's very weird. I don't know what's happening, guys. We are getting infiltrated by Henry Cavill.
Please make this the thumbnail.
Yeah. Today we're joined by Aegon the First, Aegon the Second, Aegon the Third, and Aegon the Fourth.
Okay.
And on that topic, I think they're mostly going to be used as an excuse to get Jace and Cregan together for a long period of time so we can develop their dynamic. I think it's not really so much about the others themselves. It's just we need something to keep Jace and Winterfell for a while. We can't do hunts because we just did them in episode 3 with Viserys. So instead, that we'll have them investigate the White Walkers.
And maybe stumble upon something. An information that the Starks have. Somehow Cregan has. And obviously, Rhaenyra probably told Jace about the Song of Ice and Fire.
I don't think she did, because I think that would have been on screen, because we've seen her like pretty much the whole time since she's become queen in the Black Council. So Jace has only just become heir.
But then again, that might be something where Jace and Cregan could form a bond over, because Cregan knows something, or they witness something beyond the wall, and Jace is there too. Or that is the reason why Jace even wants to go, because he wants to know about the threat in the north. I would have preferred to see it on screen, but I think that might be what they're going for.
Do you guys think that
I'm sorry,
Rhaena...
it's so goofy. I'm looking at Henry Cavill.
Fuck, man.
Oh god, Henry Cavill. Enlighten me about the Ice and Fire.
Yeah, about the funny Ice and Fire character. Do you guys think that Rhaena will try to claim a dragon, and is mourning born at this point? Because in the book, during the dance, or at least at the end of the dance, mourning was like dog-sized. Like she was like wrapped around her shoulder, so she wasn't like somewhere between like a cat and a dog, right? But obviously the dance lasts 2 years, so could they be doing a thing of like Rhaena does try to claim a dragon, but it just doesn't work?
Well, there was that shot, right, in the finale, in the final episode of season 1, where Daemon was talking about the incoming Dragon Seeds plot, and then they focused on Rhaena, and it was like a very weird moment where there are unclaimed dragons, and then the camera focuses on Rhaena.
Yeah.
So there might be something, but what?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I not to really be like a Rhaena hater, because I love her, she's a queen, but it's quite obvious that she lacked the sort of element that you need to claim an older dragon. Which is why she didn't claim Vaegor, and she didn't try to claim any of the other dragons throughout her, 16 years of life or however old she is. She obviously lacked that sort of fire in her, which is why, first off, she struggled for so long to get an egg hatched, and secondly, why she never claimed a dragon. So there's definitely like an element of it, like, which I do think they should show in the show, her at least attempting to try a dragon. It wouldn't make sense that she doesn't try, because even if Morning is already born by this time, their bond wouldn't be strong enough to justify her not trying to claim another dragon, because as far as I understand, the thing that like properly seals the bond is like the first flight, that's where like the bond is really like sort of embedded. So Rhaena definitely, in my opinion, they need to give her a scene of her trying to claim a dragon, and it just straight up doesn't work.
What if she goes for Sheep Stealer and Nettles tricks the dragon, and there's already like the friction between Nettles and Rhaenyra starts there because she stole that dragon from Rhaena.
Yeah, and I mean, we know Rhaena obviously feels some sort of entitlement to dragons that aren't hers, as we saw with, what happened with Aemond. So that could be a very interesting dynamic. Or you could do the same with like Silverwing, for example. You could say that like Rhaenyra hates Ulf because he claimed Silverwing, while Rhaenyra said, for example, Rhaena is gonna try to do this and that and that and that, or something like that. You get what I'm trying to go for here. I think that could be an interesting dynamic.
I think my only reason I don't think that's the case is we know that Rhaena goes to the Vale in episode 7, I think, which is the same episode as the dragon, like the Red Sowing.
True. So
that's
so
true.
maybe we did see a shot from episode 8, I think, where she sort of falls on her knees in the Vale, and we don't know why. And I sort of think that might be she gets word of the sowing happening right after she's left, and all the dragons have been claimed, basically.
Well, I mean, the whole dragon seed thing wouldn't apply to her because she's not a dragon seed. She's pure blood. Okay, well, not pure blood, but you understand what I mean. So I mean, she wouldn't have been a part of that whole thing. But I get what you're saying, that the whole dynamic with like Nettles and Ulf and everything wouldn't happen because of that, because she would already be gone. I'm not very up to date on like the leaks and stuff. I kind of want to try to stay away from that. But
oh, sorry.
No. I mean, I know what happens, so it's not like you're spoiling anything for me. But yeah,
my thing is also with like just Adam and Mordaron, and maybe make Rhaenyra more active rather than just like sitting around. She doesn't have to be in every battle, but like in the books, like Aegon's definitely like more into the action, whereas Rhaenyra is relying on others, which like I don't know.
Yeah,
it's like if Stannis just bombs on Dragonstone most of the time,
which he does kind of do in the first.
Which he kind of
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I remember we talked about this a little bit last time, where I said that I felt that for book Rhaenyra, I've always felt that she's like a very entitled person, which I didn't really like her that much. And that for her book character, it does make sense that she always like sends other people out to do her work for her. But I felt that in the show, she has a very like a sort of fierce element to her, and that I can't see the show version of Rhaenyra not taking action, which is why I do think she should maybe like take part in the Battle of the Gullet.
Oh yeah, just in general, Emma Darcy. Sorry. Emma Darcy really improved the way I see Rhaenyra.
For sure, yeah.
I think book Rhaenyra did also just have a miscarriage, and then the dance is pretty short, so she didn't. It kind of makes sense she wasn't able to go out and fight battles and stuff.
Yeah,
like she wasn't the best of health.
But then again, episode 1 from season 2 opens up with Rhaenyra going to Storm's End, and
yeah.
No, they might actually go for something, I think. I think they are. It's another change. They are going to have her be like the sort of CEO of the Dragon Seeds plot. Where she is supervising everyone, and that might be something that creates something for her to do in the dance. But it's also not like she's just sitting this one out. I mean, the way
With
House
her
of the
being the-
Dragon centers around Alicent and Rhaenyra, that's not going to change anytime soon.
With her being like the CEO of the Dragon Seeds, I do wonder why she has that mini like standoff with Adam in the trailer. It looks like, and part of me thinks that if they want to show her getting more paranoid as she seems to in the book, maybe she assumes no one can claim sea smoke because she knows Laenor's still alive, and then because Adam does, maybe she's sort of paranoid that he like killed Laenor or something somehow, or like knows he died. I don't know. It doesn't make much sense, but
That is something that
being
I like
paranoid.
in the last episode when we talked about the Dragon Bond thing. I'm very interested to see how they approach sea smoke, because is it like Wi-Fi? Is the Dragon Bond like Wi-Fi? Like I'm in Essos and suddenly I have no connection, or that's something that I'm not worried about, but that I'm definitely interested to see.
Something which I think is a bit smaller. This is about Aemond. So book Aemond and show Aemond are obviously very different for a multitude of reasons. Aemond in the book is sort of just like a very petulant, extremely emotionally unintelligent person who is absolutely driven by like a rage, very, very little nuance in his character. But Show Aemond is a very well-studied, reserved person who clearly thinks a lot about what he says and makes sure that every word that comes out of his mouth is meaningful. And you can tell this in the performance. You can tell this in the writing. It's Show Aemond is he literally says that like history and philosophy is something that is well known to him. He's not an idiot. He's not stupid like Book Aemond undoubtedly is. Because so something that I kind of am. Let me put my aircon on before I forget. Something which there's two things. First off, Aemond leaving King's Landing undefended. That is not something I can see Show Aemond doing. I don't know if that's just Fire and Blood writing being Fire and Blood writing, but it's not something I can see Show Aemond doing. And then secondly, I also can't see Show Aemond murdering thousands of people in the Riverlands, unless they are just going into like a sort of more villainous arc where Aemond just gets worse and worse and worse, which is possible. But I don't know. What do you guys think about the first one specifically, about Aemond leaving the city completely undefended?
In the show, we do have Gwaine Hightower seems to be leading some of the Old Town troops with like King's Landing and stuff. So I wonder if he'll leave them in charge of the defense, and then Gwaine will still get his book death during the fall.
Because I mean, the obvious thing is that Aemond was under the impression that no one would find out, which is a bit ridiculous. But there was obviously like in his mind, some news got out about something, which is why Daemon left. Because the city was in lockdown at that point, so the fact that anything could get out, like birds were being shot down and everything. But I still have a hard time believing that Show Aemond at least, would seriously think that an entire army could move without Daemon finding out in 17 days, So I think they really, really, really have to that needs to be extremely well explained. Why Aemond thought that his army could leave the city undefended without consequences. Because from what I've seen in the leaks, Aemond takes Harrenhal at the end of the season, right? But Daemon and Rhaenyra haven't taken King's Landing at that point.
Yeah, I think so.
Something might be changed. I think something is changed.
Yeah. Well, we are back. George had to leave. And we were talking about Aemond, Josh.
I've kind of said my piece, but something needs to be done there. Some big sort of change needs to happen. Something needs to be explained. Something needs to be added on. Something needs to be, something they could do. Something they could do is using one of the other battles let's say something like, I'm gonna make an example now. This might not fit into, I can't remember the dance that well, but let's say, for example, Aemond is under the impression that, for example, the Baratheon forces will install a garrison outside of King's Landing. And he mobilizes his troops and moves out, and thinks that, the Baratheons will be there in like 3 days. There's no way someone takes the city that quickly, because, I mean, it's King's Landing. It's not like they're going to be there in 3 days and blah, 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 blah. And he's under the impression that King's Landing will be fine. He needs to mobilize his troops now because he wants to move fast. He wants to take Harrenhal as quickly as possible. And he leaves, and then something happens with the Baratheon troops. There's some delay, sort of. And that is what causes King's Landing to be defenseless. Something like that. I think you understand what I'm getting at.
Your where are you coming from? But the Baratheons are in Dorne and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I think
It could be the Lannisters maybe with the Red Fork. They could change the Red Fork a bit.
true, but
Yeah,
I think
something
they,
like
they
that. Something like
won't
that.
go out of their way to do all that, because I don't think the general audience will care that much. If you know what I mean. Like, obviously, yeah, that would make sense. Like, the character that we got in House of the Dragon obviously is not as stupid as he is in Fire and Blood, but I don't know. I mean, it is a surprise. Maybe they're gonna pull a Robb Stark, Robb Stark Green Fork kind of scenario, and it's a surprise for Aemond, and he then goes through some character development in that regard.
I think in general, I don't know how to address that, but the disparity between book and show Aemond might be that show Aemond, after committing the ultimate sin, kinslaying, knows his reputation is basically doomed, and so tries to put about himself this image of him being like an out of control monster, the Aemond we know from the book, deliberately as like an intimidation tactic.
Yeah, he tries to create a persona,
Yeah.
That could definitely be interesting, because I mean, Aemond is undoubtedly my favorite character in the dance. It's not even close. It's not even close, and a lot of complexity there. So I would love to see a sort of thing where Aemond is trying to create this sort of, because he does become the demon of the Trident. That is a title that is given to him. Oh wait.
No, that's just the Bobby B man.
Terror of the Trident. I think that's the one. That's the one. You know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Terror of the Trident.
George wasn't very creative with those, was he?
Yeah. I mean, fuck it. But yeah, he becomes the Terror of the Trident. That's the title that is given to him in Fire and Blood. That could be a thing that he intentionally does. He intentionally creates this persona to strike fear into people.
Oh, and I think that will start right in the first episode. I don't think he will go about talking about, oh, this was all an accident. I think he will fully embrace it and be like, yeah, I killed Lucerys.
Yeah.
And we might get to see the character struggle when he's alone, or that scene we have.
Or with Alice.
Yeah,
with Alice could be really
I think she'll be the only one he tells.
Yeah.
I thought about this today, actually, and I think this is just a part of my headcanon thing. But I really, really want a scene where Aemond talks about the night where he claimed Vhagar. Because I watched that scene again today, and I came to the realization that that's the only scene where Kid Aemond smiles. That's the only time when he's laughing or smiling. Every single other child character has a scene where they're enjoying themselves. Kid Aemond does not, So I really, really, really would like a scene where Aemond, even though it might be a bit on the nose, talks about that night and like how much it actually impacted him. Because like for the general audience, they don't actually give a fuck that Aemond lost an eye. They don't understand how big of a deal that is. The fact that no one was punished for that. The general audience doesn't understand how big of a deal that is. So I would really like a scene between Alice and Aemond where that happens. There's so many roads they can go with Aemond. Honestly, it's insane.
Yeah, with how important Vhagar is to him, I wonder if the reason he starts talking to Alice in the first place is because Vhagar is almost drawn to her. Because they've talked about Vhagar being drawn to loneliness, first with Lena, then with
Yes.
Aemond.
Yeah.
Maybe that's with Alice as well, because she's obviously a bastard who seems quite rejected
Mm.
by her family. So
Yeah. God, I can't wait for that whole thing. My favorite aspect of the dance is Aemon and his goth MILF girlfriend riding around on his 5 billion ton dragon, and just like it's such a cool fucking, it literally is like a fan fiction, bro. It's something you would see on like AO3. It's such a, like, George he was a fucking teenager when he was writing that.
Yeah, that's full
You
on
know?
anime. That's full on
Yeah,
anime.
literally. It's such it. I can't wait to see that whole thing because it is extremely interesting.
I
Yeah.
do wonder if Aemond is deliberately like creating that persona of him being the terror of the Trident. I wonder if he like takes his eye patch off in those moments he's trying to cultivate that image, like to make himself seem even more unsettling.
Yeah.
Depends on the budget, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
I mean, maybe because Alice, we know the one part of her being actually, if she is a witch, that we know is true, is she's her having visions and stuff, according to Aemond at the God's Eye. Maybe she saw what happened at Storm's End, and that's how they start like talking, because she's the only one who knows the truth.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. That's fuck yeah.
Yeah, there's so many interesting ways where it could go. I mean, the characters that they established in season 1, they've done a pretty good job, even though they got a lot of flack for there not being enough content. I think we know the stakes, where the stakes are at. We know everything we need to know to go into the war now. The middle part is the one that, obviously Harwin, Rhaenyra, Lena, that we would have loved to see more of that. But right now, where we're headed, I think it's going into a direction that could just be so amazing, especially the Aemond stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, the parallels between Aemon and Daemon are incredible. I saw a Reddit thread like a few years ago about all the parallels between Daemon and Aemon. It just keeps going, man.
Yeah.
It just keeps going. It does not stop. It's like
Max posted something about that today, where
yeah,
he loves doing those parallel scenes. What was
yeah,
it about the
third
dragon crushing someone and Aemond?
So in episode 3, we obviously have the opening scene is Daemon arriving at the Stepstones and calling out Prince Drahar to fight him and just burning a bunch of soldiers. I wonder if when Aemond arrives at Harrenhal, we'll get a parallel to that where he's yelling for Prince Daemon to come out and face him while he's burning everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is so much potential for parallels. Like we see in the trailer, Daemon is executing someone at Harrenhal. There's a character called Paxter Strong who's been cast, who is apparently relevant, but no one knows how. There's some speculation that's who Daemon will behead, which then mirrors Aemon later beheading the Strongs as well.
Yeah. I think I've never really liked the whole like thing where people say that like Aemond is a fanboy of Daemon. Like I've not really enjoyed that, like the way that people look at it that way, because I think in the show or in the books I can see that absolutely, but in the show I think that the character that we have admires Daemon undoubtedly. He admires him in some aspects. He admires the warrior, but I can't see the Aemon that we have looking up to Daemon.
I do.
Really?
Yeah, especially if you think about the beheading of Waymond, the way he looked at him and everything, it was very. I think that to me that spoke, that said everything it needed to without saying anything, without dialogue.
I think that was, and I'm gonna get a bit deep here, but I think that was a display of masculinity that Aemond didn't have in his life. I think Aemond was probably looking for a father figure in Daemon, which he unfortunately never got.
Yeah,
but that's what I kind of wanted to get into, is that I don't think Aemond is like a fanboy of Daemon, I think he was looking for something he couldn't have because of the tensions at court and something. Because if Alicent and Rhaenyra didn't have so much tension, Daemon and Aemond would be best fucking pals, you know. And I think that's the tragedy of it, is that Viserys was such a poor father to Aemond and Aegon that Aemond, you know, obviously is definitely a mama's boy. You can see how gentle he is with her, how soft he treats her, and all that. And I think that look Aemond gave Daemon was sort of that, just like once again, it's the warrior. He admires that sort of Westerosi idea of masculinity that he didn't have in his own father, which my thing is, what I'm trying to get at is that I don't think Aemond is trying to be like Daemon. I think he's trying. I think he's finding every single excuse to see a father in Daemon, if that makes sense. Do you understand what I'm getting at? You know?
Yeah, but I still think he fanboys him. I think he does, and I think that makes it great. And I think that makes the ending of both of them so great. And I don't think it's cheesy. It doesn't need to be, you know, Aemond talking about Daemon in a very specific way, where it's like, oh my god, the warrior who the king of the Stepstones of the Narrow Sea and everything. But But I think that element of it makes it so interesting. That's the dynamic, you know, that makes it so interesting. He thinks he's him, and he isn't.
I just want to go on to the Aemond looking for a father figure point. The closest thing he kind of has to a sort of traditionally masculine father figure is probably Sir Criston, and even then he would never see him like that because he's not Valyrian.
Yeah, and we know that Aemond is like quite, you know, despite being like very much involved in his like Hightower side because of his mom, he's as Valyrian as you can get. He's a purebred Targaryen, you know.
Yeah.
So I agree with you there for sure.
Yeah, he's probably the only one that would actually appreciate Viserys' model.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
True. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed our takes today. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Josh, for joining me. And yeah, take care and see us later.